Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the crossover we've been looking for, Josh Finney.
God, I fucking hate you.
Oh, special Tuesday night episode.
A very special
Josh.
Tuesday night episode. Yeah, God knows how many special episodes we're gonna have to do going forward because there's a lot.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. Anyways, we decided we were gonna do a show tonight because didn't want to keep you guys waiting for a week and a half after a reveal for us to talk about it. So we're just gonna kind of jump right on in. Edge of Fate, new expansion.
Edge of Fate,
the very first installment in the Fate saga.
Ooh.
Is releasing July 15th. The long rumored date, the one that was data mined months ago. Well, not even data mined, flat out seen months ago.
Yeah.
It's coming out in about 9 weeks. So, oh boy.
Yeah. Oh boy. July.
I think this looked really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited. Basically, this new saga is going to focus on the Nine, which kind of our biggest mystery in the Destiny universe right now. We talked about this on last week's Tower Casuals. If you didn't listen to that, go listen to that. We talked a lot about the theory that we were going to go into the Orc Cloud and go to Kepler. And hey, what do you know? That's actually happening. Big surprise. Big surprise the ARG led us to this point.
What?
Yeah, what? So... part of the blurb that they give us in the blog post about this combined year, the next 12 months are being called the year of prophecy, by the way, which kind of ominous, but I like it. The Nine will play a key role in this new era of Destiny. These powerful beings existed long before the Traveler showed up in Sol, and their existence enables the world we know today. After years on the sideline, it's time to face this forgotten pantheon of unknowable gods head on. It's the start of a long journey, and we are taking our time to tell a new story that for now will leave you with many unanswered questions. Each expansion will help answer some, so having 2 a year will allow us to deliver those beats at a faster pace than before. I really liked hearing that. They basically said in the reveal, we already know where the story is going. We already know where we know the end point of where we're going.
You know why that excites me?
Why?
Because it feels like they have a plan.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's what we've always criticized about. As much as we liked Light and Dark, there was never an end point. It wasn't until Shadowkeep that they started to develop an end point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, I don't think it's any coincidence that everything from Shadowkeep forward is in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, because, you know, when you do that first mission on the moon and you're heading towards, you know, the signal on the moon, all of a sudden that's when you see the pyramid ship. And I remember all of us, like, our jaws just dropped. We were like, what?
Yeah.
And then you get Stasis the next year, and then the year after that is Savathun, and you get introduced to the first disciple that we encounter. And then after that, it's, you know, it's Lightfall and Strand and facing off against Callus and, you know, all that. And boom, then we're at the final shape, you know, and seasonal content kind of shaped the story along the way. The new approach that they are taking with this release model has me really, really excited. And I'll kind of circle back to that in a second, I guess. To talk a little bit more about the story, I really like that they said expect to be surprised. These are individual entities and not a collective, but the Nine are meant to represent the 8 planets in the solar system and the sun. So that's very interesting to me. The Nine are seeking to free themselves. They are not bound by the same rules that humanity is. Essentially, we are bugs to them. They said, you know, in this universe, there's aliens, and then there's aliens, and then there's aliens. And I kind of feel like we're dealing with that last one here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very excited. The concept of dark matter that they were talking about is really unique. I really, really, really love this world that they seem to be building. It feels like they kind of took the Dreaming City and the Tangled Shore and smashed them together in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That's what the vibe of Kepler kind of, Kepler feels like, and in more ways than one, feels like something you would find in Metroid Prime
Yeah.
from what we've seen. Uh, I really, really, really love this. So, reading from them, Kepler, a new destination inspired by puzzle solving and pathfinding challenges of Destiny 2's dungeons and destination design, which encourage deep exploration, mystery, and player driven discovery. New enemies, weapons, gear, and destination specific abilities await those brave enough to dive into its secrets. We knew this was going to be a Metroidvania inspired and like roguelike inspired experience, and that makes me really excited. They have said that these experiences are meant to be replayed out in different ways.
Hmm.
And they said as much in the reveal stream, which had me really, really, really excited. Two of the abilities that were shown off today, one of them was very much a Metroid ability, the Matter Spark, which looked really cool. You basically turn into Samus's ball,
Hmm.
and your energy. Like they showed a clip of a guardian running along a bridge, and then another guardian as dark matter going underneath them and coming up behind enemies on the other side. We saw one where there's another power, Mattermorph, which is using Strand basically as the force to make floating platforms. And then, oh, I got to go get the Matter ability and turn into the ball to be able to get up to the platforms. And I think things like that are just so cool. There's so much more you can do with the world. They said, like, think like you see a hill, but if you use dark matter, you can go up the hill. You can't walk up it, but you can go up it as a ball, and all of a sudden there's a brand new area to explore.
Yeah.
These are things I'm really excited about in this world. It sounds like it's going to make patrol zones matter again, which is something that the Pale Heart did, but the Pale Heart is so fucking spread out. It's so hard to go from one area to another. You have to be using fast travel. This feels like it's going to be a better destination. Overall, I really, really, really like what it is. An additional ability, which I missed the name of trying to write things down, the Relocator Cannon, which uses dark matter tech to teleport players across the environment. I think that's just so cool. There is so much here uh, that I just cannot wait.
Yeah.
I think this is so cool.
Yeah, I think it all looks really really cool. I think like you said, this destination seems like it's going to be it's going to bring back the mystery of exploring the destinations, right? Like
Sure.
a lot of the times, especially Pale Heart aside, right? Like you go into a destination and it's one we've already been to, right, over the last couple of years, or maybe they change a little bit here and there, but essentially it's somewhere we've been before, or you know, Neomuna like didn't. I mean, it had secrets, but it wasn't like it didn't feel that special when you found them, or that kind of thing. So I feel like this is going to bring a lot of mystery back to Destiny in a lot of ways, because for the first time in a long time we really don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
We don't know where a new destination, new fat, and like a new enemy, or you know the nine we don't know that much about. So I'm excited for
They've said
sure.
that everyone who's there on Kepler is there by invitation.
Hmm.
They were invited. Specifically called out were us. Ikora will be there. There is a new Fallen House, the House of Exile, that'll
Hmm.
be there. I don't know how many more Elixni houses we can get, but that definitely sets up an interesting plot thread. The Vex are there. The Vex are mystified by the Nine, like because the Nine can do things that the Vex can't simulate,
Hmm.
and I think that scares the Vex.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting that those are the two factions that we're choosing to focus on, kind of going back to D1 in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Um, so, like, okay, interesting, cool. There's a new NPC, which I totally missed his name. I kept trying to write it down. Uh, I think they said his name is Lodi. Basically, imagine a human getting pulled into this shit. Essentially, an astrophysicist. Like he's there for a reason. It's the ultimate fish out of water story. But like he is the fish out of water that should be there and deserves to be there. Essentially.
Yeah.
So I like that. They have also said that Rite of the Nine event, which dropped today. I've gone in and done the First Dungeon Spyro the Watcher, that this whole event is acting as a prologue to the Rite of the Nine. We're essentially being tested by the Nine right now. So I find that very, very interesting. I like the whole vibe around Edge of Fate.
Hmm.
You might be asking yourself, though, when do we get to play things? And do I have news for you on that front? So Edge of Fate launches on July 15th of this year with Season of Reclamation. That is launching the same day, and there will be a rewards pass available the same day. September 9th, you're getting the first major update, Ash and Iron. And that's going to drop with another rewards pass. That is also when we're assuming that the new encounter will be added to the raid. But in addition, we're getting the Plague Lands back, Corey.
I know.
The fucking Plague Lands are
You know what that
back.
opens the
This
door
is
for, Josh?
huge.
You know what that opens the door for?
Oh, dude, I screamed Wrath of the Machine as soon as they said Plague Lands. I don't give a fuck about the Plague Lands, but I care about Wrath of the Machine. So, yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. They did reiterate again, major updates are being likened to Into the Light style experiences, which gave you a distinct storyline, a theme, and an activity to do. And that really seems to be what they're going for here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said that the expansions that we're getting, think Rise of Iron or like slightly bigger, essentially. So kind of what we thought was going to happen, like something between like Rise of Iron, Shadowkeep style,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of a big expansion. So because these are $40 a piece for the
Mm-hmm.
pricing, which I think is a little bit more expensive than I was hoping for. But if it's going to be a $40 experience, that's roughly what Shadowkeep cost.
Mm-hmm.
And Rise of Iron was 30 or 40, one of the two. So like I'm kind of okay with it. I don't like the Rise of Iron comparison. I'm one of the few that does not like Rise of Iron. So and then they give us the rest of this, and I want to go through the rest of this timeline, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff they announced. But the second expansion is actually coming this year. This floored me. I expected this to be like January or February next year. But Renegades will launch on December 2nd of this year with Season Lawless and another rewards pass. And then next year, March 3rd, you're getting the final major update of the Year of Prophecy, Shadow and Order, another reward pass, and that is when Pantheon will make its return, is with that update. This is a much better roadmap than I expected to see today. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
They have the major updates dated already. Now, of course, these dates are all subject to change. That September 9th update feels particularly like it's coming in hot. That
Yeah.
only gives you 2 months to pound out a rewards pass. I don't really love that. But at the same time, you're also getting the raid with it. So with this, not with that update, but with Edge of Fate. So like, okay, maybe we can pull this off. We'll get to the theming of Renegades as our last thing, because we have some opinions there. But the things you can expect in an expansion, I'm glad they laid all this out for us, right? Expansion, new stories, new locations, missions, weapons, gear, new raid for the Edge of Fate, and new dungeon and Renegades. The major updates, new and reprised activities, new sandbox metas, new events, new modifiers and challenges, new gear and artifact mods, and then the rewards pass is going to continue as always. Exotic weapon and ornament, legendary weapon and armor ornaments, cosmetics, and more. And all of this is available for everyone for free except for Edge of Fate and Renegades. The seasons, the core updates, Rite of the Nine, and the two major updates, Ash and Iron and Shadow and Order, are all free. Which is what we've been screaming for years. Things like this needed to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best comparison I saw was somebody saying, like, I'm probably not going to come back to the game, but they're doing things that I wanted 5 or 6 years ago, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And I think they have the freedom to do that now that Sony has taken more of it. For better or worse, Sony has taken more control.
Yeah. I also think maybe that's why the expansions cost a little bit more than we were
I
expecting.
would almost guarantee it.
So.
Yeah. Some of the other things that we are getting as a part of this, they are going to update. They're updating the holiday events, for instance, which it kind of feels like we're starting to move away from not ornaments. That's not the word I'm looking for. Um, God, what are we? Mementos. It feels like we're moving away from mementos into hollow foils. The weapon we saw for Solstice had a beach with with the ocean on it, and it is one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen in this game.
Hmm.
That was awesome. So hollow foil, here for it. It can drop on any of the event weapons. I like that. That'll get me grinding. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
That'll get me grinding for some of these weapons now if they're gonna look cool like that.
Yeah.
Other things that we're getting, Arms Day is back, or
Ooh.
Arms Week, really. D1 veterans will be intimately familiar with Arms Week, but that is back. You'll get a weapon. You'll work on upgrading it throughout the week. I really, really, really like that idea. That's something like, I mean, again, for years, going back to faction rallies, we're like, hey, this should come back. Like, it's such a simple thing. Why is this not in the game?
Right.
So just like factions weren't in the game, why is this something from D1 that was pretty beloved? Why is it not here? So
Right.
it's finally back. We're getting a first peek at events starting on Friday with the heavy metal event for the Briggs versus Tanks mode. And in that, you can earn a combat sparrow, which is customizable. You
Yeah.
can customize your combat sparrow, and this is definitely the beginning of adding more vehicles into that sparrow slot. Again, I I love this, and this is a no brainer. Why were we not getting this years ago?
Yeah.
So,
Is this the beginning of a Twisted Metal crossover, Josh?
God, please just leave. It's the beginning of the BattleBots crossover, knowing our luck. Uh, Arms Week is also going to have hollow foils. I do have that note written down here. I think that's very, very cool. Want to make sure that I'm not missing any. I think that's all stuff I just wrote down. I don't think they actually put any of this in the post, funny enough, which is very funny to me. They did not confirm. They did not. I assume that they're going to talk more about events as we get closer. I was just kind of like trying to scribble things down as they were talking. But one of the biggest things, again, we're talking about big things that people want in this game. We've asked for years for a firing range, and Corey, the group I was in, just was so excited. I think this is the thing they got most excited about. A firing range is here. You can simulate damage fall off. There's a scoreboard. There's even champs you can turn on in there. This is awesome. That poor ogre in Grasp of Avarice finally can take a breather. Finally, stop getting used for as to cross damage vids. I love this. I'm a big fan. A note that I did miss on the Ash and Iron update. They said for this one specifically, returning to the Plaguelands, there will be a new exotic mission, a new activity, 2 new exotic weapons. And again, this is available to everyone. You are not paying for this.
That's
That's
great.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's great.
That's great. That's fantastic. But this is, and I'm well aware that if you were to add all of this content up, it would probably equal what you're getting in a normal expansion. They're just spreading it out, is really what it feels like. They're spreading it out and throwing seasons into it, basically.
Hmm.
There is kind of distributing the delivery a little bit more. I like seeing the actual dates that they have planned for some of this stuff, because that was one of our concerns was, are you going to release this at a brisk enough cadence? And there was this big rumor before GTA got delayed yesterday, right? Got delayed until May 2026. There was a story coming out that multiple live service games were moving up or moving back their content releases to avoid GTA.
Hmm.
I feel like Ash and Iron is definitely a result of that. That probably got moved up by like 3 or 4 weeks, in all honesty. Also, that gets you out of that marathon corridor.
Yeah,
That's
I was
the
gonna
other
say
thing. You
like
had to
that's.
avoid marathon.
It feels like Bungie is kind of moving into like a once a quarter release like
Hmm.
cadence. Honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to me as well. So really like that. Uh, the the expansion coming December 2nd is just shocking. They did say September 9th is going to be our reveal for Renegades, which feels fast. But we're gonna have a reveal stream there where they promised to talk more about Renegades. Again, we're gonna get the Renegades in just a moment. Um, but yeah, the only area where I share, I think, a tiny bit of concern is that March 3rd update. Assuming that it lands on March 3rd, you have to kind of keep a pretty brisk cadence with when you're going to release the next expansion. There's not really a lot of wiggle room for a delay here. You
Right.
kind of have to release it in June, because otherwise, and it's almost certainly not going to release in June, by the way, because of the aforementioned GTA 6.
Right.
So if you put it out in July, that means we're again encountering another scenario where we have a long season. And I know that's like not that bad. Like that's 4 months,
Mhm.
right? It's not like the worst thing ever, but it's still not great when it's going to be probably like 4.5, maybe 5 month span right there. And I assume they want this to be longer because of the inspiration they're taking for Renegades.
Mhm.
But anyways, that's my personal little gripe. If you do pre-order, the pre-orders are a little funky here, so you can order the Edge of Fate by itself, $40. You can get both the Edge of Fate and Renegades. I'm going to make sure that I get this pulled up correctly. In the Year of Prophecy edition, which means you get both campaigns, you get the raid, you get the dungeon, you get the reward, you get all 4 reward passes, the exotic ghost, the legendary Engram, and then you will get Renegade pre-order rewards, which are available on September 9th, which is an exotic ship and a legendary emblem. If you do the Ultimate Edition, however, you get a secret stash, which is 1 exotic cosmetic, 1 cipher, 2 Ascendant alloys, 3 Ascendant shards, and those are going to be delivered to you with each seasonal release, which I think is really cool. You get the New Land Beyond exotic sniper rifle with the ornament and catalyst. This thing rocks. I was using this earlier. I really, really like this. You get a Year of Prophecy exotic sparrow, and I guess it's time to talk about the most controversial part of this whole reveal, Corey.
Here we
You get
go.
the Dark Side Legends armor ornament sets, which are instant unlocks available today. So, cat's out of the bag. Renegades. The minute I saw the typeface, I was like, "Oh boy, here we go,"
Yep.
because that is Star Wars to a T. And on top of that, there was an image that leaked last night of a hunter holding Han Solo's DL-44 and a warlock holding what distinctly looks like a lightsaber, but Destiny-fied.
Yeah.
Renegades. So this is what we're going to talk about in September. But I want to read a couple of things here before we have any sort of reaction to this. I want to read a few things. Renegades is inspired by the legendary Star Wars universe and merges Destiny's distinctive storytelling and gameplay with themes and elements drawn from the iconic sci-fi franchise. We featured a brief cinematic teaser showcasing Renegades, a definitive Destiny expansion with a narrative integral to the Fate saga, while also fused with inspiration from an homage to Star Wars. Renegades will introduce new Destiny characters, innovative activities, and evolved mechanics designed to surprise and delight players. We will disclose more on September the 9th. Now, the thing I wanted to pull up, somebody tweeted at, or just tweeted out, period. If you wanted any sort of acknowledgement that they are watching your reactions to this. And this person said, Destiny 2's Renegades has me a bit worried. Collabs are cool for cosmetic packs or fun limited time modes, etc. Agreed. But for an entire major expansion or narrative to be an official collab, I don't mind Inspiration Vibe, but if Boba Fett shows up as an NPC, I think I'd eat my hat. Now, with that, I wanted to say that before we get to Robbie Stevens's response, who is the the assistant game director. We saw a lot of Robbie today. Great person. Really glad we saw a lot of Robbie. My exact phrasing was, and this was also I was talking with Nerd Generalist during this. We both shared the same sentiment. You are one step away from turning into Fortnite at this point
Mhm.
with this specific thing. If this is not handled correctly, you are basically becoming Fortnite. And I think that's my biggest concern, right? So Robbie Stevens responds and says, "Rest assured, Guardian, everything in Renegades is in canon for the Destiny universe, but we're leaning into the aesthetic, tone, and vibe of Star Wars to tell a Destiny story with Destiny characters." And then DMG also replied to that, saying, "The team is taking great care to make Renegades a Destiny story. We'll have more to share in September during our next reveal." This put me at ease a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. The fact that you're holding a DL-44 still does not, like, make me feel great. But, and like, the lightsaber, you can get away with, like, calling that something else, just like we did the Halo 1 Magnum is called Forerunner, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
We got away with that. And the argument that I was seeing, and that I see both sides of, is, well, the Halo and Marathon stuff for the 30th anniversary was fine. You didn't complain about that. Yes, that is a distinctly Bungie thing, though. That is homage to Bungie's 30 years as a company. I think this feels bad partially for a couple of reasons. One, I already don't like I don't like collaborations. You guys know this. I don't love that I'm already seeing people run around the tower as hunters in General Grievous legs. I think that is just asinine for this game. And that was always my biggest fear with doing this. Like, I was fine with it when you made the sets look distinctly like they should still belong in Destiny, or at least tried. We've given up trying. Darth Vader is in the fucking tower, guys. We have flat out given up at this point, okay? And, like, these sets actually don't look like, well, the Grievous looks ridiculous no matter how you slice it. The Kylo Ren set looks fine. You can wear that without the helmet and you wouldn't be able to tell that's Kylo Ren. The
Hmm.
Darth Vader stuff, you can kind of get away with that. Except for the helmet. Grievous, there's no saving Grievous. I'm going to tell you that right now. But it's the fact that we're getting the weapons that I think bothers me so much. And in that distinct quick cinematic teaser you see something that definitely looks like it's a city set on Tatooine.
Yeah.
But if they are telling me that this is a Destiny story set in a Destiny universe and that is not Tatooine, fine. The architecture looks distinctly Tatooine, though. Like, my first reaction was, "Fuck, is that Jabba's palace?" Because
Yeah.
that's what it kind of felt like. Spider is already Destiny's Jabba the Hutt, guys, just with less Princess Leia. That's what it is. So, I will begrudgingly hold my criticism of this until September 9th, but all bets are off on September 9th if I don't like what I see. Because I'm really trying not to shit all over this, because, Corey, you and I are the only two people not excited for this.
I know.
Every single other person that I've talked to or seen the reactions from is really excited for this, and that's great. That's why I'm trying not to shit on this. I am genuinely so happy that this is reignited. At least 3 people I know have messaged me to say, "I'm coming back to Destiny because of the Star Wars stuff." That is what this is designed to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to act like this is some game break or game revolutionizing crossover either. I saw somebody trying to argue, "Well, we've never seen this done in a game before with an IP." Like, yeah, we have actually. It's called Sea of Thieves, when they did it with Pirates of the Caribbean and told a Pirates of the Caribbean story in the Sea of Thieves universe with those characters. Now, that went a step further than this is going to be. This is heavily influenced by, and let me tell you something, you can be heavily influenced by without having the characters from said universe or having weapons from said universe.
Right.
So I'm wondering how much of this is a stylistic decision and, like, skins and things like that, versus, oh, you're going to fucking Tatooine and Darth Vader is the dungeon boss.
Right.
Right? Like, that's my fear with this game, and with some of the timed activities and some of the seasonal shit and this and that. That is ultimately a concern for me. We're seeing it in Fortnite right now is doing an entire Star Wars season for 6 weeks.
Hmm.
The content in Renegades is not going to go away. That is an
Yeah.
expansion that you paid for.
Yeah.
That is staying in the game, which is why I think, like, I need to pump the brakes a little with how much I was freaking out about this initially once I came down and thought about it a little bit. Would I have preferred this to be a seasonal thing? Sure. I still wouldn't have liked it. I probably still would have complained. You bet your ass I'm going and getting a lightsaber, and then I'm getting a DL right away. I'm doing it. I'm sitting here and talking so much shit, but I'm gonna sprint to get those weapons.
As Grievous.
As General Grievous, I'm absolutely going to do it. Yes. So for all my complaining, for all
Do
that
you think
I'm
we're gonna
upset
get the?
about,
Do you think we're gonna get the Grievous emote where he spins 4 lightsabers really fast?
I actually don't think so because Grievous is a hunter set. I don't think they're gonna make that a specific emote. Now, if they did that as a finisher, Corey, you know how fast I would drop money for that?
Yeah.
I would do it really fast. You could very easily do emotes for these characters, which is a slippery slope. My argument was, why Grievous for the hunters? I understand he hunts lightsabers. Why that for the hunters? Why can't we be like Boba Fett?
Right.
If it's all dark side characters, like give me Boba Fett, give me Jango Fett. I know that you're not going to do it. Give me the Mandalorian. Like I almost guarantee you, there's going to be Mandalorian armor sets available in the shop
Oh, I'm sure.
in like May to line up with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I would
Yeah.
almost guarantee you it's
Oh,
coming.
yeah, no doubt. Of course there
And see,
is.
and there's actually a way you can make this work. There is a heavily armored Mando in the show, Paz Vizsla. Have him be the Titan. The
Hmm.
armorer can be the fucking Warlock, and let hunters finally have the hunter set of Din Djarin.
Yeah.
We got robbed in Assassin's Creed, guys. Okay, we got robbed in that crossover. I expect compensation at some point.
Dude, the Hunter set in the Assassin's Creed set was bad.
Is ass.
Dude,
It's ass, Corey. It's liquid hot
it's
ass.
bad. It's real
It's
bad.
bad.
I think
Overall, I listen. If you're going to take inspiration from the like they said, Star Wars was one of their biggest inspirations when they were first building this universe. 12 years ago, right? That was one of the big things they took inspiration from was Star Wars. Like the Jedi are a direct inspiration for the Warlocks and for their powers. That has been firmly established. So it's not great, but it's really hard, I think, to tell like a populist sci-fi story, like something that's supposed to resonate with the mass public without referencing Star Wars or Star Trek to some degree. Like
Mhm.
just the influence those two have had on, like, I don't know, cookie cutter sci-fi, I guess I'm gonna call it,
Mhm.
is unmistakable.
Mhm.
And you simply can't deny that. You can not like it all you want, but you can't deny that. So I do think there is a really cool path for this. They've said, Renegades is gonna, focus on like outlaws and like themes of like retribution and things like that. If you do that, I think this is actually a really cool opportunity to introduce Shin Malphur to the game as an NPC.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love that if you do that and he's like a bounty hunter, or not bounty hunter, but like someone who's sending you after like dredgens in the system. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
That I am all the way here for. I would be very 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 excited to see that.
Yeah.
So, because the description that I saw tweeted out for this is dive into the criminal underworld and take down an evil empire, venture into a lawless frontier and reveal deeper mysteries around a new dredgen in Seoul. Build your power, credits, and notoriety. I love this so much. This is, guys, I play a rogue in every single game I can. There's a reason why I play a hunter in Destiny. It's for the vibes, it's for the aesthetic, the skill set. I do this in Dungeons and Dragons. I do this in Skyrim. I'm doing this in Oblivion. Like I did not play a rogue for once in Diablo. I played a necromancer there, but
What?
yeah, I know, right? I went against type. But I really like I'm playing through Towerborn right now, and I'm playing as a fucking rogue. Like this is my vibe. This is the most Josh themed expansion you could have ever given me. And Bungie's like curated people who like listen to this show and read my thoughts are like, what the fuck, man? You're a massive Star Wars fan. We're giving you a Star Wars inspired expansion. We're giving you a lightsaber. We're giving you Han Solo's gun. We heard that you don't like being a Jedi. You like being a scoundrel and a pilot. We're giving you that. We're giving you a story about hunting dredgens, and you're not happy. It's because I need to see how much Star Wars is actually in this before I allow myself to get excited. But if it really is just inspired by, I will hold my nose and I will gladly enjoy this. The weapons still will never make. I don't love the weapons being there. I really don't. I don't love them being here. but I will stomach it and ignore it the best I can because, guys, I get to be a bounty hunter. I get to be a fucking bounty hunter. That's all I've ever really wanted.
It's, it's true. It's all he's ever wanted.
It's true. It's true. I'm very, very happy about this. I'm actually very excited. So, all things considered, I think that's fine. We did have a question on thoughts on pre-order bonuses, and can we say hunters finally get a good set for once? I actually think the hunters have had great sets for a while. Just with the collaborations, they tend not to. Uh, the Grievous set is it looks good in game, but it's just so goofy when you finally see it in the tower. I think it's the goofiest fucking thing I've ever seen in this game.
Yeah, I feel like you said earlier, I feel like the Grievous and the Darth Vader one are too on the nose.
Yeah, the Kylo Ren one, like I had like really squint to see if somebody was wearing the Kylo Ren helmet, which I think is good.
Hmm.
I will say, for as excited as I saw people being about the Star Wars stuff, I personally have only seen them in the tower like once or twice.
Hmm.
I do think like for right now, these skins are going to definitely be the sign of, hey, this person dropped $100.
Hmm.
So, but I do think getting all three of those sets with as the pre-order bonus for the whole year is a really cool gesture.
Hmm.
That is like $60 worth of armor sets. I think that's a cool gesture, regardless if I like it or not. And I do think there's room to like mess with some of these armor pieces when it comes to Grievous. But man, those legs will never not be goofy. I think they look hilarious. They look so. There was no attempt to even make them fit in the Destiny universe. It's just like, nope, here's Grievous, which is kind of great. I play an Exo, so I think this is kind of great, like low key. But it doesn't change that it's goofy. Is this finally a good crossover? Jiggly Panda asks. I have no idea, man. We need to get to September 9th before I'm going to start issuing any sort, and like we have to see how much crossover content is actually there.
Yeah, we got to see if that's really not Jabba's palace.
God, dude, I got to make sure this is actually a Destiny story before I get too optimistic here.
I bet they're going to
So,
call it something different, but
but
there's going to
that
be
typeface is distinctly Star Wars too.
yeah.
That
Oh no,
bothers me
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah. No, it definitely is, but like you get to Jabba's palace, the fake Jabba's palace, there's going to be a hole in the floor. You're going to fight a giant something in there, an ogre probably, 'cause it's the,
Probably.
you know, uh yeah, I don't
It's
know.
probably gonna eat like a fallen guard or something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Spider's new palace. Just watch.
Yeah. I mean, that would make the most sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so
Well, Corey, any final thoughts on a Star Wars expansion for Year of Prophecy before we move on to some other housekeeping that we have here?
I think it's weird, but I'm not again, like you said, I'm not going to judge it until we play it and see what's really going on.
Sure.
A lot of the stuff they did show is really on the nose, but if you look, like also like you said, we're the only two that aren't like
Hmm.
crazy about this crossover. And if this is going to draw people back in, then you know this is what the game needs to survive. I guess, but
Yeah, I will begrudgingly hold my nose if this is what the game needs to survive. I do want to clear something up though. Like I've seen a lot of people be like, "Well, they don't need to have like paid passes anymore and dungeon keys and stuff because they've got the Star Wars money coming in." Like, man, I got to tell you something. They'll sell a lot of microtransactions, but like they paid to have these in the game straight up.
yeah,
That is how a collaboration works.
yeah,
They paid to have this in the game because it will drive more sales to their game ultimately.
yeah. And so I mean, Sony
Sony has a
a great
very long
relationship with
relationship with
Disney,
Disney.
so
Yeah. But like it's kind of like when Insomniac made Spider-Man 2, we saw how much in the leaked documents we saw how expensive that game was and a lot of that was the IP licensing.
mhm.
So, wait, do you think that they got a discount because they're Destiny? No. They probably still paid an arm and a leg for this. Like, and I'm sorry, Bungie does not have Fortnite levels of money.
Yeah. If anything, they
Fortnite
probably
paid for
paid.
6 weeks.
If anything, they probably paid more because they are Destiny and it would be popular, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it should be disclosed that Disney does own a stake in Epic, a $5 billion stake in Epic.
yeah.
Um, so all or 5% or something. I don't know. It's a very big number though.
Yeah.
All things considered, though, I if this is what the game has to do to survive, I'll begrudgingly accept it. I don't want this to become a a typical thing, though. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
we did also get the names of the next two expansions for next year. They pulled a Witch Queen on us here,
They did.
which I was really really excited about. Shattered Cycle and The Alchemist are 2026's expansions. So I think that's cool. I don't know what Shattered Cycle is going to be, but Alchemist, I think ties back to the Kel's Fall exotic mission that we got in Revenant, because you go to seek out an alchemist that is imprisoned there, and we never actually see them.
Hmm.
Just that they know the ways of old Reese. It also could be referring to Ido, but I'd be really disappointed at this point if it focused on Ido. I'm not going to lie. Okay, let's talk about some of the other things that were brought up here. A little bit more on the expansion that I accidentally skipped over earlier because there was just so much. There are going to be side quests and side content throughout the world of Kepler, and then there's going to be a world tier system also. I need to go back and listen to this a little bit more carefully, but the world tier system kind of sounds like it's going to work a little bit like Diablo in a lot of ways. So I think that that is really, really cool. Basically, the world will evolve with each world tier. They've said that there will be different ways to solve different puzzles and different pieces of content depending on what world tier you're on as the content gets more challenging. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I was looking to see if there was anything in here with the write up, and there is not. All right, let's jump into the last big thing that we have here before final thoughts: the portal, and then update to rewards. So we got the first mock up of the portal last year. I remain whelmed by this. I don't love it. I think this is. They've said that this is supposed to make things easier. I actually think this is going to make things much more complicated for people who have not been playing Destiny a lot, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So, on July 15th, one of the major updates will be the portal, a new activity selection screen that will offer instant access to a wide range of activities tailored to different playstyles to make it easier than ever for players to find their next adventure. So, on this sample screen that they gave us, you see the Edge of Fate, Destination Kepler, latest expansion. You have a thing for the tower. You have the seasonal hub, which this is interesting. Seasonal hub has daily and weekly rewards now. I find that fascinating. And then down in the bottom, you have a quick launch button for the campaign, and there's like 6 other things you can select from down there. You have up at the top store, reward pass, quests, world, portal, and then your friends list. And on the bottom left, the stuff we really care about: solo ops, fire team ops, pinnacle ops, and crucible ops. The solo ops screen, I'm really glad they gave us an example of what this is going to look like so that we can talk about it a little bit. New solo ops activities are specifically designed for solo players who want short, quick 10-minute adventures in and out without the need for a fire team. And Pinnacle Ops will reinforce quick fire team action and longer form cooperative content. So some of the screens that we see here on solo ops are quick play normal, advanced, expert, and master. And on master, you can see there's a weapon reward there guaranteed. And down below, there's conflicts, salt mines, and creation. And on those, on one of those, you can see a pair of boots as a reward. I've said that I really, really, really want there to be uh, a launch for the lost sectors here, for the
Hmm.
daily lost sectors. I think that would be a really, really, really good thing to do, to be able to launch from there, especially for new players. There's another page we can't see there too. Players can also tailor activities to match their desired gameplay and specific rewards they are chasing. 50 all new modifiers will allow deeper gameplay customization and offer greater challenges for players, while curated activity rotations will ensure there is always something new to chase. I did pull one of these up. So, Battleground Oracle is one of the first ones that we've got a screenshot of that Bungie's account tweeted out. And your reward package goes up in terms of score and in terms of what you will get, based on the modifiers you were choosing. So this one, recommended power is 300. That is master level. There are 6 difficulties now: normal, advanced, expert, master, grandmaster, and ultimate. But you can choose boon and event modifiers. I think that's really cool. You can affect banes, challenges, commendations, rewards, etc. So I think that's really, really cool. They are going to allow us to do the entire power climb in Crucible and PvP now instead of just through the campaign, which I think is really, really cool. That's something that's been asked for a long time. I personally don't know why you would want to do that, but the option is there if you want it. So definitely big changes coming to the way that the game is going to be played going forward. But as always, this is a looter shooter. We care about the rewards, Corey.
Yeah. Let's get them.
We care about the rewards. Armor 3.0, the biggest update to Armor since Shadowkeep. Armor 3.0 will see the arrival of new systems to empower your playstyle. There are new stats, like ones that can increase weapon damage, as well as stronger effects to those you already know. You only have to crank them up to 200 points to get them. If you wear 2 or more pieces of a given set, you can push your favorite builds even further with special set bonuses. But yeah, I think that you have the force converter, and then when you have 4 pieces, you do the reactive booster, which once per activation, sprinting, critical health, being suspended, or being slowed by stasis will immediately grant speed booster for a short duration. So we need to obviously see more of this, and they've said there's going to be a lot of articles coming out in the coming weeks about Armor 3.0 and things like that, and changes, and like the portal and this and that. So we're getting kind of a glimpse of portal with the heavy metal event this week, but there's also a new tier system for both armor and weapons.
Oh boy.
Each of the 5 new tiers offers better stat splits, perks, and bonus mechanics. To earn the best gear with the highest tier, you have to take on the most challenging activities. The better, higher tiered equipment you acquire, the more challenging content you can handle. For example, one of the ones that they give us here is Giver's Blessing. And on Giver's Blessing, you can see that there are 3 perks in each column. That is wild. That's pretty crazy. I like all that. Those 5 star weapons are going to be something worth pursuing, I think, pretty heavily. And then beyond that, they have said that there will be, when you get to tier 5, they will basically change their design, their look, and the icon that is on them, so everybody knows you have a tier 5 weapon. And there is an animation you'll be able to turn on and off for when you kill enemies. They will have special death animations from those weapons. So again, I think it's cool. It could get out of hand really fast or really goofy really fast, but for right now, I think it's cool in practice. I kind of see it as like transmat effects, but for enemies. But they're death transmat effects for enemies, if that makes sense.
They just crystallize into oblivion.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's it. We have one final piece. The raid is launching July 19th on a Saturday. We're launching it on a Saturday, not on a Friday.
Interesting.
Kind of wacky, but I kind of see the vision here. If you're going to do a raid launch, it's long has been a complaint that the only way you could do it on Friday and compete for World's First is if you were able to take days off of work. And doing it on a Saturday, Sunday ensures that the most people possible can do it. I think they saw the positive reception to extending contests to 48 hours for both dungeons and raids, and have said, fuck it, we're just going to do it on weekends from now on. I think that's a cool idea. That definitely allows for your most passionate fans to be able to engage with it week 1. This also makes me think that they're doing this to say that it's going to be similar to how the dungeons have worked, that as soon as the first couple runs on contest are done, it's going to open up on normal for everyone else.
Yeah.
I do think that's going to be a thing going forward for raids. We've only seen it with the 2 dungeons because we've only had dungeons since then. So definitely curious to see how this plays out, but I like it. I like that as a change in principle.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good move.
It's a very good move. All right. Do we have any final thoughts on this reveal? This has already gone quite a bit longer than we thought it was going to tonight.
Yeah.
We thought
Uh,
it was going to be a half hour. We're at like minute 50 now, at least.
yeah.
Any final thoughts on this reveal, Corey?
Um, I just I think this is I think it looks promising. I think it looks like them having a plan, them kind of laying it out is, even the expansions next year, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just feels like it feels like they heard complaints obviously after the final shape and obviously after everything happened with layoffs and higher ups leaving and
Mm-hmm.
one case or another, like they heard that people were worried about the game, right?
Rightfully so.
Yeah. And so I think it's good that whether you knew the people on the couch today or not, whether you know, are going to stick with it till the very end or you've kind of fallen off since the final shape, like they laid out a plan. They laid out the story beats that you need to know going in. They laid out what they want to do for the foreseeable future. And I think that is a good start for a vote of confidence from fans. Um, you know,
Yeah, I think today was so. Ronnie asked a really good question last week. How do we avoid getting into the cycle of we're back, we're down, we're back, we're down? Today was a really good first. I think that really everything since Heresy in a lot of ways has been a good step in that direction. But
hmm
that's always the thing. We always seem to have a banger season right before going into an expansion because you want to sell that next expansion, right?
right.
So for me, it's going to be how do you kick off a new destination? How do you kick off a new story? Like with stuff that we've never done before. We're still in the solar system, but we're kind of not at the same time. We're tackling one of the biggest mysteries. Like the Nine have always just been there in the background. They've done some awful shit in the lore, right?
hmm
So they're gonna have to square with that, and I do wonder how this is gonna go. Like they each have their own alliances, and like they're their own. They don't have they're not like like three of us are in alignment against like this person all the time. Like no, like they're like normal human beings. Like they have different friendships and alliances and rivalries and things like that. I think doing the exploration the way they're talking about doing on Kepler is probably the biggest thing they could have done for this game. It's going to make it feel fresh, and it's a way to give you new abilities without breaking PvP.
Yeah.
Like, now that being said, I do fully expect there to be a dark matter PvP mode where everybody is just a ball trying to hit each other off of like a Rocket League stage.
hmm
I fully expect that at some point, just be like some goofy party mode. Because we're getting that with heavy metal, right? We're getting a party mode. And I think when you do things like that with these abilities, that's going to be really fun.
hmm
But like, we don't want Iron Banner supersonic mode, right?
Right.
We want, oh, this was like a fun little thing to do for like a week and get a couple free rewards or something out of it.
Right.
Maybe you can like change the color you look when you have dark matter or something. I don't know. What the
Yeah.
fuck ever. So I think that when you do things like that, that allows you to do this without breaking the game in a way that makes it unfun for people who play the game a different way or who play different modes. Today's reveal was really, really, really focused on the importance of PvE in the story. I feel bad for PvP players in a way. I think they needed something to like kind of hang their hat on. I'm hoping we're going to get that in the next few weeks leading up to this. Um, but at the same time, like they also might be just thinking in their mind, like, well, now that Marathon is coming out, we can like kind of work on PvP for Destiny quietly in the background.
hmm
Um, Today did a lot to convince me that two smaller expansions with these updates, with these seasons, and with these updates really can be good for the longevity of the franchise.
Yeah.
Really, that dip in, dip out style of gameplay that they've always said they wanted to have, but it's kind of been hard to have with seasonal content. One thing I liked about episodes was once I finished with like the content for that act, I could just kind of dip for a few weeks and go play other things.
Yeah.
I haven't really been able to do that in Heresy. I've been pretty busy all of Heresy, in total honesty, and
hmm
that's a good thing. I've really enjoyed it so far. Ironically, the last couple of weeks have been the weeks that I've been able to be like, oh, I can finally go play something else. The story's over and Ride of the Nine hasn't started, so
Right.
getting the dates up front was probably the exact roadmap was probably the biggest thing. We've said for a long time we wanted roadmaps back. We wanted to know what was coming. this is a promising start. I'm not saying this is like the greatest thing they've ever done. This is a very promising start. And honestly, this is the kind of information, and I know they couldn't give this to us last year, but this is kind of what we needed to know going out of Final Shape.
Mhm.
If we had had this launching out of Final Shape, I know like Edge of Fate, it wasn't possible to launch straight out of Final Shape, but if we had cut Revenant out and just had like Echo's Heresy and then jumped straight into Edge of Fate, I don't think any of us would have complained.
No, I don't.
I
I
don't think
don't think
any
so
of us
either.
would have. And these expansions also, at least this first one, does not seem as small as I feared it was going to be. I feared we were going to get something that was like Warmind sized, but to hear that it's like Rise of Iron, Shadowkeep style, like
Mhm.
actually gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, I mean, Rise of Iron had like it had a small campaign, but it had a lot of like in-game stuff to do, right?
Mhm.
So,
Well, and I think having these new abilities that let you traverse the world and find secrets and whatnot allow them to put things subtly in this destination
mhm.
over time.
Yeah,
Not everything has to be there on day one. And like if this whole expansion is about the nine and the nine are summoning us here, I feel like this planet's going to play a pretty central role in the saga.
mhm.
So I like the idea of that. I would be really surprised if there's not a social space of some kind on
Mhm.
this planet.
You think
So
it's Felwinter's Peak since we're going back to the Plague Lands?
I don't think so because like Fellwinter's Peak, yeah, it was part of the Plaguelands, but you couldn't like walk down from Fellwinter's Peak into the Plaguelands, you know.
Yeah.
So no, I think there's one on Kepler. I think there's going to be one on Kepler, and that they're going to keep it a secret until we're actually there. So
Yeah.
I'd be totally fine if we didn't see anything else between now and the release of this expansion, story wise. We almost certainly are going to get another story trailer or two. One of which is probably coming in like the next 2 weeks
Yeah.
at whatever PlayStation showcase happens in May. We're almost certainly getting one at the end of this month. Um, and then yeah, it's kind of just full steam ahead. There's going to be a lot of big blog articles. Obviously, you know, we're going to take those as they come. They have said that the longest TWAB in history is coming, which
Great.
scares me, and I really hope it's not an off week for us. If it is, then you know I might just have to say fuck it and talk about it anyways.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
we'll figure that out. We'll
we'll
cross that
broach
bridge
that
when it gets
subject
here.
when it comes to it. We need to see like what the cadence of we need to see what the cadence of updates is going to be like.
Yeah.
You know, content, because if everything's just going to be dropped like right away at the expansion and like have the season drop at the same time and all the seasonal content, then it's kind of like, well, what do you do for like 2 months, right?
Right.
So I'm interested though. I'm very interested. This made me pretty hopeful. And not in like, oh my god, this looks as awesome as the final shape, but like I'm definitely intrigued. Like the mystery is coming back to Destiny
Mhm.
in a way that I feel like we haven't had a mystery like this since the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
When it was how the hell did Savathun steal the light? You know, was the whole tagline, and that was cool. And like Beyond Light was all about finding stasis and Shadow. I mean, Shadowkeep's mystery really was the pyramid once you got there, but we didn't know that in all the marketing. So I want there to be a hook that we haven't seen
Mhm.
pretty early on, and I do feel like we're going to see it pretty early on.
Yeah.
So, yep, intrigued, intrigued, happy. Already bought my collector's edition. I
That
said on this
statue's
show I was
cool.
never buying another collector's edition. Then I saw the leak of the statue yesterday, seeing it on the stream today, and seeing how huge it is. I was like, yeah, I'm buying this.
That statue's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I saw so many people being like, "Oh, that looks bad." Like, no, this is made by like an actual like art team. By the way, this isn't something flimsy like the tower, which had me so upset last year. So,
Yeah, the tower is
a choice.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a 1/8 scale statue of the three Guardian classes, designed by Pure Arts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
yeah, Pure Arts has made some awesome stuff. They make a lot of gaming collectibles, and their stuff is always pretty detailed. They've made some really cool Witcher and Cyberpunk stuff in the past. So
Mhm.
definitely excited to see how this is going to go. But their stuff also is like typically wildly expensive. So this is obviously not going to be as incredible as those. Like a lot of their statues tend to be, you know, like four figures, in quite honest. and quite, brutal honesty.
Yeah.
So, but even seeing the ones that are like 350, it's like, oh Jesus. So I do wonder if they're going to start moving with like this company a little for like more higher end stuff. Not that I think the Numbskull statues have been bad at all. Those are very detailed for the price. But some of them feel a little cheaper than others. Looking at you, Crow and Drifter.
Crow looks better in person.
Okay.
I got it when it was like $30 or whatever. It looks much better in person, let me tell you.
Because I love how detailed the Elsie one is. That's the one that I have. That was the very first one they did, actually. And I just haven't felt the need, other than the Savathun one. There hasn't been another one that I've been like, yeah, I would buy that.
Yeah, I have them all, and I can tell you that they vary in quality.
Yeah. So I do wonder if this is like a shift in terms of like collectibles for them. Like maybe less is more, and like higher quality is better. So not that I would be able to afford anything more expensive, but very, very pumped for that statue. But I think that's going to do it for us, Corey.
Yeah.
I think we're out of here.
I think so. Josh, thanks for your time on a Tuesday evening.
On a Tuesday.
Yep, on a Tuesday, as they say. Everybody out there, thank you for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. We will be back with a regularly scheduled episode next week.
Yes.
And you can check out Xbox Casuals, our Xbox podcast, this week.
We get to talk about Gears of War this week.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I've got interesting thoughts on a $40 re-release, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Again, thanks everybody for watching and or listening. Join the Discord, follow us on socials, and leave us a rating and a nice review. Subscribe on YouTube, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.